Hey everyone, it's Y again, and MCC just got its latest big update, and I want to break down all the new features in it. Now this update's a bit of a grunt themed update, and that's because Yap Yap the Destroyer took over MCC. If you're not familiar with who Yap Yap is, he's one of the leaders from Halo Wars 2. Anyways, Yap Yap has caused a bit of havoc in MCC, and changed things up a bit. You'll notice the new background has Yap Yap sitting on a throne, surrounded by other grunts. If you search Halo 2 Classic SWAT in matchmaking, you'll now come across a game type called Head Pop Party. This game type plays just like SWAT, with the inclusion of headshots making the grunt birthday party sound. In the game type categories, the Infection game type has been temporarily replaced with the Yappening. The 4v4 Yappening playlist consists of the following game types in Halo 2 Classic. You've got Yap Yap's Ball Grab, which is a game of multi-ball oddball with rocket launchers and overshields, and tweaked player physics to allow the player to get knocked around more easily. There's Yappening War Games, which is a Fiesta game type, where gunshots take double the ammunition and a random piece of your HUD disappears on spawn. And then there's Methane Mosh Pit, which is a King of the Hill game type, where players are armed with needlers and overshields, and the player knockback has been revved up, allowing players to get knocked across the map. Brute Shoot is another explosive game type, where players are armed with brute shots that have bottomless clips, and the explosion radius has been increased. And then finally, there's Beamish Bonanza, which is found by searching the 8v8 Yappening game type, which is a big team battle slayer mode, where headshots are lethal, weapons are random, and players are invisible. And if that wasn't enough, the Grunt Birthday Skull is activated, which you can hear every time a headshot is made. This update also brings along two new nameplates that you can earn. The first of which is the Yap Yap the Destroyer nameplate, which can be unlocked by completing 7 matchmaking social matches in the Yappening game category. The other nameplate you can unlock is called the Shut Your Yap nameplate. To unlock this one, you have to headshot 250 grunts on heroic or higher in campaign and or in Spartan Ops. That covers the different changes in the matchmaking. Now let's take a look at the game itself. Players who idle too long in the menu will now get an icon next to their name to indicate that they're currently idling. The loading screens have also been updated. Here's what the old loading screen for the multiplayer used to look like, and here's what it looks like now. This new loading screen provides information about the game that's about to be played, such as the game type and game type description, the starting weapon, the time limit and the score needed to win, players in the game, with the addition of gameplay tips at the very bottom in yellow. Here's another example of a loading screen with 8 players. You can even see which server the match will be using. These newly added loading screens have been added to all titles in MCC, as well as their campaigns. And while we're on the topic of loading screens, the Halo ODST emblem found in loading screens and in the menus has been changed from this to this. This update brings along a bunch of new settings that can be used in Halo 2 Classic. In the vehicle option settings, you can now toggle vehicles to indestructible, and you can also set the vehicle gravity between 25 and 300%. This option sets the gravity for vehicles only. Under the equipment options setting, you now have the option to set both your primary weapon and your secondary weapon to none, which allows you to effectively start a game without a weapon. There's now also the options for infinite ammo, bottomless clip, and grenade regeneration. If you check out the player options menu and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a new option for player gravity. This one can be changed from between 25% to 300%. And as its name implies, this setting only affects the player's gravity, not the vehicles or anything else. And then if you look at the settings under match options, you'll see that you can now change the world gravity. And just like the others, this one can be between 25% and 300%, and this will affect the gravity of everything in the game. Here's an example of setting the world gravity to the lowest setting, which is 25%. As you can see here, I jump higher and fall slower. You'll also notice that grenades go much further. Here's what a Warthog looks like when it's driven in the world gravity of 25%. As you can see here, it handles very differently than it would at normal gravity. And as a side note, you can stack the different gravity settings. For example, if you set the world gravity to 25%, and then also set the player gravity to 25%, you'd be able to jump much higher than you'd normally be able to if the player gravity was the only one set at 25%. At the very bottom of the options menu, there's now a skull options setting. These are the same skulls that are used in the campaign that affect gameplay. In no particular order, I'll show you what each and every one of these skulls does and how they change the game. Starting with the feather skull, this skull causes objects and players that have been meleeed to travel a farther distance. The Sputnik skull decreases the mass of objects, making them easier to move around, regardless of how you hit them. The Malfunction skull disables a random element from your HUD on each respawn. On this respawn, you can see that it disabled my radar, and it'll stay like that until I respawn again. And once I respawn, you'll see that this time it disabled my reticle, making it harder to aim. The Recession skull makes you use double the ammo per shot. This doesn't actually mean you shoot out double the bullets, it's just you use double the ammo instead. Notice how quickly the ammo counter goes down? Instead of being a 4-shot sniper rifle, now it's a 2-shot before each clip needs to be reloaded. When you have the foreign skull activated, you can't pick up or use any of the Covenant guns. When the boom skull is activated, the radius of all explosives doubles, which means all explosives can do damage from a further distance. The blind skull disables both your HUD and hides the weapon that you're currently holding. The streaking skull causes all players' shields to decay slowly, while getting a kill will earn you some of your shield back. When the eye patch skull is enabled, it disables the auto aim feature. This is the feature that would normally slow down your cursor when your reticle turns red while you're aiming at them. With the black eye skull enabled, any damage that your shield takes won't recover until you beat down an enemy. Notice how the shield stays down, but once I go up and beat down the enemy, you'll notice that my shield comes back. The Grunt Funeral skull causes players' bodies to explode moments after death. Which brings us to the last skull, the Grunt Birthday Party skull. When you kill a player with a headshot, children cheer. And the last thing I want to touch on in regards to this update is the improved networking in MCC. This improvement is made across all the games except Halo Combat Evolved due to how it handles networking. Without going into too much detail on what this improvement is, in a nutshell, 343 has done two things to improve the network connection. The first of which is called raising the packet rate to 60 Hz. To give you an idea of what kind of speed increase that is, in Halo 3, the clients would send 15 packets per second to the server, while the server would send 30 packets per second to all clients. With the packet send rate increased to 60 Hz, both servers and clients will now be networking at 60 packets per second. The second thing they've done is increase the limit on how much data each individual packet can contain. So, to summarize, they've done two things. They've upgraded the rate at which packets are sent by the server, as well as increasing the amount of data they can put in each packet. These changes should positively impact the online experience for both good and poor connections. If you want to know more about this update, check out the patch notes, which I'll leave a link in the description for. And thanks for watching my video. If you liked what you saw, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel. Thanks, and have a good one.